All right, first and foremost, Israel, I want to give all praise to Yahweh by Shemi Abishai Thumb and give a sincere greeting to all the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners. Teaching this word with sincerity and charity. I'm Brother Phineas, Prince of Power Israelites. I just want to deal with the head covering, man. A lot of head covering issue popping up, and a lot of us getting tripped up on that verse 16. 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 16. Let's read it here. 1 Corinthians 11:16. But if any man seems to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither the churches of God. All right, so if any man comes to you and be contentious, a lot of our brothers and sisters are taking this to say, well, listen, if they bucking at you about it and they really don't want to do it, we don't have no such custom. Just let them do it. You know what I'm saying? Just let it go. Don't fight with them about it. And that's not what Paul's saying here. He's saying if someone's contentious, we have no such custom. If somebody is bucking at you and say, hey man, listen, no, we're supposed to wear our hats like this, and we turn it around to the back, and then we can put this little slot right here. You know what I'm saying? You tell them we have no such custom, brother. Like, we don't do that here. This ain't what we do in the church, brother. You know what I'm saying? And that's how that conversation is supposed to happen. I was like, oh man, you kind of speculating a little bit. Well, let's look at comparative text. Let's look at it in the NLT. Verse 16, it says, but if anyone wants to argue about this, I simply say that we have no other custom than this, and neither do God's other churches. Okay? So this is nothing to even go back and forth with. Somebody's contentious, you straight up and let them know that we have no other custom than this. We have no other such custom. You're going to have to take your hat off when you inside of this church. All right, that Paul didn't just go through and write this whole chapter just to come down at the end and say, well, you know what, if they really contentious about it, man, just go ahead and just let it go, man. You know what I'm saying? Just let it. That ain't what he's dealing with. All right, now my brother Danyahlah from the house of David, elder brother, doing great work for over 20 years. Salute to the brother. He seems a little vexed about people trying to tell him about wearing his hat while he's bringing out scriptures. And he eventually is calling people Christian. You're going to see he's like, man, y'all some Christians. Y'all want to sit here going to do like that and do that. But ultimately, man, this doctrine was taught by One West. I didn't know to take my hat off till I start coming into this walk. All right, there's been many camp videos with people bringing out this text to tell people to take off their hats when they praying and prophesying. All right, this has been happening for countless years. You see all the old One West where they have the little thing cut out in the center of this ain't Christianity. You got to talk to your elders. If you want to call it Christians, you got to talk to your elders about that, because this is what they were teaching. And I feel they're correct. And I feel people ain't really just checking you on it. They're giving you reproof and correction. They're giving you love by telling you to take your head off. But let's look at this video real quick with my brother, and we'll look at some of the methodology that he's using to establish his stance on head coverings dealing with Pauline's epistles.
Be coming on my page with that with that religious stuff, brother. There's a historical. Do you understand what was going on in the Church of Corinth? Why he even had to write that? Do you understand the historical context behind why that was included in that epistle? Something was going on right then and there, historically. Why he had to include that in his epistle. Do you know what it was? Do you know what it was? No. No, you don't. Because you are a Christian. So you jump on my page talking shit, and I just block you and get you the hell out of here. Go do some research. I'm gonna tell y'all something. When you look at these, I'm just gonna say this. When you look at the different Israelites that were in the diaspora throughout Asia Minor, right? The Israelites that were in the diaspora throughout Asia Minor, the majority of those places that Paul was writing letters to, right? Those were Israelites that were under the Seleucid dynasties. That's why a lot of those epistles are written in Greek, because a lot of the people were speaking Greek. And in those cities, you had a bunch of different gods that was being worshipped by our people. And each one of those gods had a headdress and a outfit that went along with worshiping them. Did y'all know that? And some of that stuff was seeping into the church. Well, you know what? I'll leave it there. That's why I say, man, some of you dudes, listen.
All right, so we see that his stance is that we need to understand the context of what was going on, and why Paul wrote this letter. Okay, first, you can only speculate why Paul wrote this letter. You can say, okay, well, this stuff was going on, and this right here was going on, and the priest had this head cover, but ultimately, all you're doing is speculating. Paul did not tell you that. Actually, Paul had an epistle before the First Corinthians epistle, and we know that by him saying that I've written you before this, and then he received a letter from them, and then he's writing another letter to these people at Corinth, to the church of Corinth. And so this is the letter that we're reading, the second letter. Actually, we're reading in First Corinthians. This is the second letter. You don't have the first letter, so ultimately you still just speculate no matter what was going on around the city of Corinth. Now, to deal with what he was talking about, he said that there were different pagan rituals that they had different headdresses. All right. If you do about 15-20 minutes of study on this particular topic, and a lot of this stuff is going to come from Christian articles dealing with the history of Corinth. If you even delve into that, Corinth was like a Vegas. Like they had pretty much every deity that you wanted to worship. That deity was there, but in particular, it was really known for that temple that worshipped Aphrodite, the god of love. And you know that there was a lot of sexual immorality going on in this particular temple. And the women pretty much ran that temple, man. The priests and those high officials within that temple were women, and those enslaved girls used to have shaven heads. They used to have their head shaved, uncovered, and by night they would end up being entertainers and prostitutes. Okay, entertainers and prostitutes. And some scholars seem like that might have been one of the reasons that he wrote that it will be a shame for a woman to have her head shaved. It's a shame to her head, which is her husband. Being also that in Greek tradition or Roman tradition, a woman having her head shaven or having her head uncovered was a married woman, or a woman or a prostitute, or a woman who was looking to be divorced. All right, looking for another mate. All right, all married women in that culture had their head covered and would not allow their head to be uncovered. There are a plethora of different reasons why people feel that Paul wrote this in this epistle about the head covering. Another reason was this is going to be graphic content. If your kids are there, you might want to tell them to leave the room or plug some headphones in. One was that a male scrotum was weighted down with sperm, and they believed that sperm was also in the hair follicles, and that it can pull. Like it had like this anti-gravity kind of thing, and it pulled the sperm into the scrotums instead of the hair, and this is why the man's hair needed to be short. Woman, they felt the opposite, that a woman would who had long hair, contained a lot of sperm, and that would ultimately make her more fertile. If you know how important fertility was, this is why a lot of them had to worship these deities, trying to have children. Children was very important back in biblical times. So again, there's a lot of different reasons that we can speculate why he did this, and the problem with doing that speculation is that it opens up doors. Say we say that, okay, well, yeah, it was a headdress, so he was. We take his logic, we take Danyahlah's logic, and we say, okay, well, yeah. Okay, he was wearing a head covering, the different head coverings that the people were wearing. He was trying to stop them from wearing it, so he put that in. So, but now they don't do that, so we don't have to do that. Now, how many other things are we going to look at that Paul wrote and say, well, yeah, we didn't need that. Well, they used to do that back in that time, but they don't need to do that now. You know what I'm saying? Just like we can bring that example with the priests and the women leading those temple services in Aphrodite, but now our women aren't doing that. Now our women aren't considered prostitutes because they have their head uncovered or because they had their head shaven. Why can't they come inside of the church and usurp authority? All right. Why now we living in an equal society where women can work and etc. Why can't women lead the household now? You see what I'm saying? You open up the door when you use that methodology. You open up the door because you're saying that it's not really it's not really a necessity now because we're living in a different kind of world. We have different rituals and stuff that we do, and so it's not really necessary. You know what I'm saying? Just like the Egyptians, just like the corners of our beard. Most I said, don't shave the corners of your beard and be not like the Egyptians. The Egyptians no longer exist. You know what I'm saying? So why I need to shave the corners of my beard? Like it's a different time now. Now they make women pants. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. And it that just continues through that whole methodology. It can spread across the whole text, and there'll be a lot of things that we will have to do away with. And unless you're ready to throw all those things away with, I think we need to really take that kind of methodology and that kind of scholastic look into the text with caution. Okay, with that, I'm gonna say shalom. Y'all be blessed. I hope this thing was edifying to the body. Peace.